Hi, my name is Kwong Young and I'm going to be a data science major this year, 2022, in the National University of Singapore. However, I decided that I really want to get my feet wet in this industry before I went to university, and therefore in 2021, I started my data science journey, trying to learn more about data science and what it actually is about. And now in 2022, I'm reflecting my 1-year journey in data science. So let's start with January. In January, I knew that 2020 wasn't the best. I really didn't do much in 2020. The only thing I kind of learned was Python, and I tried to do a little bit of NumPy as well as pandas, but those didn't really work out because I really didn't know what to do with those. So eventually, I didn't really touch Python that much, and I was pretty occupied with other commitments. So I decided in 2021 that I am going to do more data science in 2021, or in this case, start my data science journey. So in 2021, I thought of the best place I could get a course at. And I was thinking either Coursera or Udemy. Now, me being a cheapskate, I didn't want to pay for a Coursera certificate. I wanted an actual certificate, but at a reduced price. And I thought, you know what? Udemy has pretty good courses. And Udemy is pretty affordable for the amount of content that I'm paying. So I decided to buy a Udemy course on data science. And I completed that course in April. I completed the whole thing. I kind of knew how to use Python, kind of knew how to use pandas, a bit of NumPy. I was pretty good at the data analysis part, but I didn't really understand much on the data science part. Now, don't get me wrong, the course itself was actually pretty good. I understood what these algorithms did. However, I didn't really understand where to apply these algorithms at. So, this ultimately brings me to my first point. My first point is that, to me, context is very important. So, later in the journey, I realized where to use these machine learning algorithms. But back in January to April, I was kind of confused. I didn't really understand where exactly to use these algorithms. And that's because I lacked the context to basically understand where they were being applied to. So, understanding where, understanding how to apply whatever you've learned in data science to different problems is very important as a beginner. And I mean, it's pretty obvious, but looking back at it, I think I didn't really understand the space itself. I didn't really understand the field, and therefore I couldn't apply what I learned. So, not knowing that information and not reflecting on my data science journey, I did something in May. So, in May, I started on SQL on another Udemy course. But here's the thing, even though looking back at it, I didn't really use SQL ever since, and instead I've just been reading data off CSV files. Still, learning SQL has allowed me to understand more in this field, specifically about databases, specifically about joins. And I actually got the concept of joins pretty easily. And it's allowed me to make more connections with what I already know to new knowledge. So looking at it, joins in SQL is basically just like a Venn diagram. Yeah, it's basically just like a Venn diagram. And that basically you have intersection, you have union, you have A intersect B prime, things like that. If you can visualize it, you understand what I mean. And this brings to the second lesson. And the second lesson is that whatever that you learn right now might not be necessarily useful to you in the current moment, but I think it will help you so much in the long run. And this has really allowed me to use a part of the pandas module in Python, especially with joins, but it also allowed me to understand more about how to manipulate data and things like that. And I think that because of that, I have a better understanding of data by itself. So even though I might not be using SQL anymore, sorry, not anymore, even though I might not be using SQL at all, it still gives me a better understanding of how data science is right now. So, after May, in June, I decided that I wanted to get an internship as a data analyst to get my feet wet and to try and outdo my peers. I know it's stupid, but at the same time, I also wanted to see whether I really wanted to be in this industry. So, I had to build a resume, and I had nothing on my resume except for education courses. Honestly, that's about it. So I decided that I'm going to make my first project. This was when I started using pandas properly. I actually used pandas for the first time instead of blindly following a tutorial and things like that. And I personally learned more about pandas as well as matplotlib with this project than I have with my other courses. So this really reiterated lesson number 1, which is that context is important. Because of this context, I managed to further my skills, I managed to make them better, and I understood what was going on with data analysis. It took me some time to go through some data sets, and it really gave me some perspective of what data sets I could use in data analysis as compared to data science. So, this is the third lesson. Building is king. I've learned so much from this project that I couldn't learn from other courses, even though really, if you look back at it, it wasn't very good. I think it was just And I personally thought that there was some code that was super sloppy, even though people would say that it was alright for a first project. But what mattered to me was that I was able to do it, not that I did it well. Because bear in mind, I'm still a newbie in this field. I'm still a newbie in this industry, and building something was all that mattered to me. I didn't care if it was too good for a first timer or whatever. What mattered to me was that I built it. And it gives me so much confidence in this industry. Well, not in this industry. I know that this industry is great by itself, but it gave me so much confidence that I could enter this industry. So yeah. So, during this period of time, things are slowing down for sure. I, for one, didn't really know what to do because I still didn't understand the application of the machine learning algorithms that I've learned back in April. Luckily, with how popular data science is, I managed to look through tons of notebooks and tried to pick out certain things that people did and understand why they did it. And it actually led to me creating my first project, which was on Amsterdam housing prices. Now, admittedly, that was also kind of a meh project. And the reason why I didn't really go with the starter data sets and went with something that I kind of liked instead was that there are tons of projects out there already. I don't want to fall into what people call tutorial hell. Or basically, I don't want to replicate whatever people have already done. I want to do something that I know not a lot of people have done, and to go in with a fresh mind, to go in with new ideas and go in with new perspectives, and understand from my own perspective how to manipulate the data. So that's what I did, a regression project on Amsterdam housing prices. It was a pretty small data set and had lots of outliers, which made the data set honestly even smaller. So looking back at it, this was a project that allowed me to finally understand what machine learning algorithms I use in certain situations. And that doesn't mean that my first project was absolutely outstanding. It was alright, but I did learn a lot more. And I learned more on feature engineering, learned more on like feature selection and things like that. And that ultimately gave me some motivation to continue on with data science, to see why it is so interesting. And after that, around that time as well, maybe about August, September, if I'm not wrong, I also enrolled myself into another course. Now, you might be thinking, really, another Udemy course? Well, this was different. This was a machine learning engineering course by Alexei Grigoriev, one of the co-founders of Data Talks Club. And this really gave me the motivation I needed because, for one, I didn't have anyone around me that was learning about data science. I was the only one that learned everything that I knew, and I didn't have anyone to bounce off ideas with. So having people that are interested in the same thing as me was honestly a game changer. And that really made me more motivated. I personally think that having people alongside you in this journey will help. And if you're looking for people to study with, be sure to look in my description. There's a Discord server that I have created, and I hope that I can help you with providing an environment for you to learn more about data science and be as enthusiastic about data science as I feel that I am. This ultimately provided me with the last lesson there is. Consistency is key. So, in 2021, things took for a pretty horrible turn, but one thing that was consistent in my life was learning more about data science. And looking back at it, I worked on data science stuff from January all the way to December. Even if there were lull periods, but I didn't do that much studying, I still tried to fill my time learning more about these things. It doesn't have to be 1 hour of studying every single day. It could be subscribing to certain data science channels, or it could be looking through Reddit, or maybe LinkedIn even, and learning more about data science for 5 minutes every single day. That's all. Which is why I think the 66 Days of Data initiative is a wonderful idea. By the way, I'm not sponsored. But the consistency is ultimately what led me to have a bigger interest in data science, a more focused interest in data science, and have a more intricate understanding of this field. Now, I've only been working on data science for a year, and I'm sure there's more for me to work on. For one, I need to learn more about the specifics of data science. I need to learn more about how those models actually work mathematically, because I understand them from a layman's perspective. That doesn't mean that I understand them deeply, and that is something that I work to do, and that is something that I desire to do this year. So if you want to see my progress, or if you want to see more of my content, please do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.